Hey, Lasheen.
Hey,
Am I able to turn my camera on?
yeah, you should be able to.
Says it's been disabled by the host, question mark.
Um, okay, let me figure this out. Hold on one second. So it looks like in order for the video to come on, I'm gonna have to end this and then restart it.
Okay,
Don't know why that's happening, but in the settings it says that all panelists are off and you can't edit a Zoom when it's in progress. So it's up to you guys. You guys could talk without your cameras on, or I can end it, figure it out, and then we could come back.
Um,
I don't know, I feel as a public meeting, we ought to have our faces seen, but
yeah,
Those-
why don't we do that?
Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries. Much better. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I don't want to waste anyone's time. Let me go ahead and share this. Can you all see the PowerPoint? You can shake your head and I can see you guys. Okay, perfect.
yeah,
Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and so the way I wanted to go ahead and tackle this, because the city has been having time in this issues, I wanted to give you a pre-application meeting for you guys so you get a feel for the grant itself and the requirements that all the subrecipients have to undergo so that you have an understanding for what the home grant and the CDBG grant is and the paperwork requirements that the subrecipients have to go through. Before we jump right into it, that's the agenda for today. We're going to do home, not CDBG, but we do have a CDBG RFP that will be put out that I'll need your help with the applications on later on. But that is the agenda.
Yeah, I
So.
try to make my headphones work.
Gotcha. Let's do roll call real quick. When I call on your name, feel free to let everyone know which neighborhood or position you're representing, since we do have some new members on the task force. Nancy Carpenter.
Thank you. Hi, Nancy Carpenter from Rose Hill Neighborhood.
Connor Brew.
I'm Connor Brew. I'm the social issues representative.
Welcome. James Bryant.
I am the school board rep, 10th and Page Street neighborhood.
Emily Cone Miller.
I'm 10th and Page.
Tanya Dowell. She's our planning commissioner representative, but I don't think she's going to be here today. Howard Evergreen.
At large.
Matthew Gillikin.
Pikeville.
Kem Spalding.
Ridge Street.
Helen Sporkin.
Belmont.
Perfect. I think I got everyone. All right, so let's get started. So for CDBG and home, there are a couple priorities that each applicant has to address. First, we have City Council. So City Council sets priorities for CDBG and home each year before the start of the fiscal year. These priorities are selected by looking at our 5-year consolidated plan. The consolidated plan is the playbook essentially for the grant. The playbook addresses the needs for the entire region, not just Charlottesville itself. So I don't like that. So these are the priorities that City Council selected for this fiscal year. The one that applies for home is this first bullet on the top here. Everything else is mainly CDBG, which will apply later on. So first we have CDBG, or the City Council priorities. Next, we have the HUD, if it will go, the HUD national objectives that you also have to address. So you have to hit one of these 3 national objectives. Mainly, everyone hits that first box, the benefiting low and moderate income people, the 0 to 80% AMI. You also have the addressing an activity that will correct slum to blight neighborhoods, or slum or blight neighborhoods, or creating an activity that will meet an urgent need like coronavirus. So I thought it'd be interesting to show you guys what those HUD national objectives are for the city. So if we go to the city website, the income guidelines are posted. This is for the city, that first national objective. And this is all sent to the applicants during the pre-application meeting. And then the slum blight neighborhoods for the city are also identified by HUD. Everything's all HUD identified. This is our map for the city of Charlottesville. So the black bold, those are the priority neighborhoods that you guys are the representatives of. So this is Belmont, if I zoom in a little bit. So the 55.21, that's Belmont, 58.79, these are all income identified, that's Ridge Street. 67.79, that's Fifeville, And then 91.08, that's 10th and Page, and then we get Rose Hill on top. And everything else in yellow is also low income. And this is our most recent census. That. Let's go back. Now we're going to share. So we got city council priorities and then HUD priorities. And then we're going to go into the home grant. So this is the HUD definition of the home grant. It's very housing centric. This is very textbook, so I broke it down for you guys. The overview of the Home Investment Partnerships Program on page 9 states these are the eligible activities that applicants can apply for. It goes on, it keeps going on. But generally what we've seen in the city is people apply for down payment assistance, rental or homeowner rehabilitation, energy retrofits, acquisition for new builds for affordable housing, anything affordable housing, down payment assistance, assistance for home buyers. All of them are eligible for the home grant, housing related. We're gonna keep going. Any questions up till now? No, great. So our projected home allocation for this year is $84,000 and $576.88. We won't know for certain until the summer what that funding looks like, but this is what we're working with for now. HUD will give us a better idea later. As far as federal and local requirements, this is where things get tricky for applicants and where I start to lose people on the applicant side. So let's say you're the applicant and you get the money. You are now required for your contract to give me a scope of work and a line item budget. So in the application, what you guys read today, you're supposed to give me the same copy of that list of activities that you described for me, the budget that you listed out in that huge 13-page application. You're also supposed to give me a certificate of insurance for the official contract. Reporting and monitoring. So quarterly, I'll check in with each subrecipient on October, January, and April and June to see how the program is going. You'll be required to fill out a subrecipient one-pager about how the program is going, whether the program is stalled. If it is, we'll enact a contingency plan, which we'll talk about in a second, to redirect the funding elsewhere to make sure that funding is still going, because you do have a deadline with HUD to make sure those funds are 100% spent by the end of the year. You'll also be required to fill out a beneficiary form each quarter to show who the funds are benefiting. So we want to see that, the funds aren't just sitting there not helping people. We do want to see that they are going towards something and benefiting people. Timeliness, this is where the city and activities always struggle. So for home funds, there is a 1-year spending deadline. If the funds are awarded July 1st, 2022, they have to be spent June 30th, 2023. And that's a hard deadline with HUD. Come June 30th, 2023, if you haven't spent those funds, HUD does take it back from you. Other requirements. So for housing activities, there is the environmental review record requirements, depending on how big of a housing activity is. Those environmental review records can take anywhere from 2 weeks to fill out or 2 months to fill out. Sometimes even longer for public infrastructure type activities, but that's mainly for CDBG. And this usually gets stalled with the Department of Historical Resources. Their office is always changing staff and it gets stuck there for some reason. Section 3 can also get triggered with them because there are procurement requirements that takes 30 to 60 days to fulfill. So again, timeliness, always an issue. Applicants are also required to fill out and submit this list of forms. These are pretty standard. I know it looks kind of daunting, but they're forms that generally everyone has with their nonprofit organization. If you're not able to give me these forms, your application does not get counted with the applicant pool. And everyone is provided, again, everything before you are able to submit the application. Application is electronic submittal through the website, and they were given, I think, 30 days to fill out, 30 or more than 15 days, something like that. Next, so I met with 6 people or 6 organizations: Piedmont Housing Alliance, Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust, Local Energy Alliance Program, Literacy Volunteers of Charlottesville and Albemarle, Virginia Supportive Housing, and Charlottesville Redevelopment Housing Authority. And I only received 2 applications. Some of them were generally asking about what the home grant was and whether it was a right fit for them. And then I only received 2 applications. There were some questions from my end and staff's end about whether the applications we received were the right fit for the home grant. So we did send it off to HUD, and HUD said that the workforce development portion of the LEAP application was ineligible, and then the PHA application would be better suited for other funding under the home final rule subpart E. So today we would only be looking at the LEAP portion, the LEAP assisted home performance portion application.
Aaron, Nancy put in the chat that she had a couple questions.
Yes, give me 1 second, let me pull it up. Okay, yes, your questions, Nancy.
Sure. Before we get into the discussion about LEAP, when you talk about the 5-year consolidated plan, is that the planning district's 5-year consolidated plan for the region?
I think that's a different one.
It's a different one? Okay. Is this
Yes.
a city of Charlottesville consolidated plan?
It's
Just-
the community development, the CDBG one.
All right. And I don't know, when and if you ever talk to your HUD liaison, I guess you have a HUD liaison.
Yes.
They need to update their national objective number 2. It's kind of offensive. Blight and slums. I mean, I don't.
Wording.
Yeah, I don't think we're using those words anymore. They're kind of.
No, yeah.
I mean, it's very. But the other thing, when you talk about the eligible forms that, especially with nonprofits nowadays, are you all considering like? And I really didn't see it highlighted, but policies and procedures about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because if you're talking about housing issues, I don't know if that needs to be updated or whether that's part of the attachment submissions. I really didn't see anything that kind of talked about that, and I thought maybe that might be something to consider going forward, in the future, about
I
how.
could definitely bring that up. That's a good idea. They're
Yeah.
set on the, I don't know where they're set, but it's at the federal level. I could bring it up to Ronnie though.
Yeah, I think that, that needs to move along, because all of the conversations in reference to a lot of these programs, dealing with home issues and housing issues are really looking at equity and inclusion, when agencies or nonprofits or whatever are going for federal dollars, state dollars, and things like that. Thank you,
I
Erin.
mean, the nonprofit can certainly include it within their own organization. A lot of these principles and CFRs are pretty vague when you look at the code itself. So nonprofits can certainly include it within their own organization, but I can bring it up to the Richmond field office. Kevin.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. Are we still on the Ridge Street project of CBDG, or are we on something else now?
No, this is the regular CDBG home task force, not the Ridge Street Priority Neighborhood Task Force.
Okay, so I'm gonna sign off.
Okay.
Thanks.
Helen.
Kind of unrelated, but I'm involved with the planning and some organizing with Virginia Supportive Housing. I was wondering if in the future I have to recuse myself with anything involving them.
No,
Okay,
because they didn't end up applying.
okay.
Anything else? Great, so let's go into the scores. Let me find it. There. Okay. So you guys all got a copy of this. Any questions or concerns on your end before we start general discussion? I know Howard sent me some. It seemed like there were, did you have any questions about how the questions were framed? Let's start with that. I got a lot of complaints about the budget question being terrible from the applicant side. No.
Aaron, I mean, is the question for us is we have one applicant
Yeah.
who has submitted the same application before and received funding for it.
Mhm.
I mean, is the question before us essentially whether or not they have done a good enough job in the past with the funds they've received to indicate we should continue to give them funds?
Yeah, so in this case, I can talk a little bit about what you guys can do with only one applicant. We can go out for, as far as how LEAP has performed in the past, they have been great with how their timeliness is going. As of right now, they're almost done with all their funds. I got more invoices from them today, actually, from CDBG front and from the home front. They've administered regular assisted home performance funding from the regular city funding. And then now regular, or the CDBG and home federal funding. And they've been administering it with the federal guidelines attached to it. I haven't had any issues with them. Now with only one applicant in the pool, if you guys want to see other applications, you can go out for another quick RFP. Or if you don't want to do that, you can give the funding back to TJPDC and give it out to the remaining partners in the region, or you can fund this application fully. I did talk to LEAP and he did say, or Chris Meyer did say that he can take on the extra $4,000 and just give benefits or not benefit, but take on more houses on their wait list. So those are some extra options that you could look at. I would say that, I mean, they've been fine to work with as far as my opinion goes. I don't have any issues with them from my end.
That's helpful. And your opinion is significant because obviously we need to be trying to distribute these funds to organizations that are actually going to be able to use them correctly, which is no small task, obviously, given the amount of paperwork involved. So is it considered acceptable practice to give more than a group receive, even if we're only talking about $4,000?
Yeah, that's fine. We did that actually with the CDBG fund this previous COVID review period, this a couple months ago. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it would
Okay.
be fine.
Sure.
So Aaron, if we decide to give this funding to LEAP, how many houses are they going to be able to serve, households, I should say, serve with this funding?
So currently they're doing with the same amount of funding, about 16 homes, and he said they could do the same 16 to 20 households.
And that includes people on the waiting list?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And the work that they do helps to keep these families in their homes instead of having to decide that the repairs or whatever are too much for their budget, and they might sell that house out to someone else who might try and upgrade it and flip it to something more expensive.
Yeah, they're minor energy retrofit upgrades. But essentially, yes. HVAC repairs. I could pull up one of their scope of works while you guys are if there's another question.
And they
The
work with, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in the application, they noted that on average, it reduces monthly electric bills by around 20% as well, which supports the
Yes.
affordable housing angle.
And that's pretty significant because I see that a lot of people call our emergency fund lines, not Outlook Communities emergency fund lines. And that's, to me, that's the number one assist that I see are utility bills, electric bills.
So this one had attic and air sealing and insulation, weather stripping inside the home, replacement heat pump with 16 SEER or better units, replacement of a 2009 water heater with a heat pump, caulking of interior windows and door trim, and then venting of a bathroom exhaust fan.
Aaron, is
And
there-
they meet all the lead paint and HQS requirements that you need for home.
They generally don't pick homes with any lead triggering. Like they don't have that.
So any home built before 1976 almost, they just don't
Yeah.
work on.
Because yeah, I generally don't approve those.
Right. Okay, I was just wondering how they worked around that issue.
Mhm.
So are most of these sites already completely scoped out? Like, or is there a chance that they'll get in there and then discover a lot of mold or anything that would require more remediation?
That's a good question. I could ask the applicant. But
It does happen. And then they try to refer them to AHIP or bring in AHIP as a partner when it becomes more than what they can manage in some of those situations.
I do know that the cases that they're not able to handle, they do refer to AHIP, as Howard mentioned.
Aaron, is it a problem that the workforce development part of the application isn't something we're considering? Does that impact this at all?
No, I did talk to Chris and told him that there would be a CDBG RFP later on, and said that that would be a better funding pool to apply for with that.
Okay.
He is getting the same workforce application portion of CDBG funded with that this year. So he knows he can apply for that next year with that.
I think we should just give them the money and go on. Wish them well. Thank them for the good job they do. And
They scared off all the competition. I agree with that. Especially helpful hearing, Aaron, that they're successfully using this money. And I think they do important work. And they did, we've seen this application before from them. It's a good application overall. So I feel comfortable with funding them.
So they asked for 80,100. Are you okay with funding them at the full 84,576.88 for the workforce development, or not the workforce, assisted home performance?
sure.
I'm comfortable with that.
Yes,
Yes.
Me too.
Okay, I'm going to run down the line real quick. When I call on your name, just say yes to the funding recommendation or no. Nancy,
yes,
Connor,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes,
Matt,
Yes.
and then Helen.
Yes.
All right, sweet. That was easy. Let me save that. Oh my God. Okay, so we will be having a CDBG RFP for $244,000. That part is going to be a lot more complex. We're gonna put a timeliness. We're only gonna be funding shovel-ready projects, which means only applicants can come in with projects that are ready to go, because there's going to be a timeliness block. The projects have to be done by the end of December, so like December 2022. So I will need your help reviewing those applications. We should have the RFP ready to go, like request for proposals ready to go shortly. I will email you guys with details on that soon. But that is all I have for today. Thank you guys so much. Stay tuned for CDBG.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
I don't think any of us can take it for granted that a meeting that only had one issue went under time in this city. We should invite city councilors next time. We only have one choice, but we really we need another study about it.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
I'll talk to you later.